What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. And I'm coming through with another video just for you. Not just another video, but definitely a reaction video. This one is going to be courtesy of the Clay Kane show. So shout out to him and fair usage for the video, fair usage. So before I get started, I just want to make a few comments now. Tim Scott and Byron Donalds, bless their hearts. Now what's sad is I love them because they're my brothers, all right? But man, bless their hearts. They just continuing to publicly play themselves in terms of their extreme defense of Donald Trump. And I can only imagine what Donald Trump's reaction is, behind the scenes. They just going all out with it, man. And they just look like fools in the public. And they have no shame whatsoever. And it's sad looking at them two brothers as black men doing this. And for anybody out there that want to talk about democratic shilling and the plantation talk and pandering, what them two brothers are doing is the true definition of pandering. That's what they're doing, knowing full well that neither one of the brothers are going to be picked as vice presidential nominee. And when it comes to him, Trump in particular, who cares who he picks as VP? We saw how useless Mike Pence was in the role. So what makes you think that anybody else doing that role under a, quote unquote, possible Donald Trump second term is going to be any different, any effective, or any more effective than Mike Pence was? Come on now, let's not kid ourselves here. And the only other point that I want to make before I get into the video, which I'm going to preface it now, I'm going to say I am going to pause this video a lot and offer my thoughts, because this video, they're going to make a lot of good comments, and I'm going to make my comments on just about the majority of what they say. So remember back in, I want to say 2022, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act legislation was coming up for a vote, and it was passed by the House, because at that point the House was still in control of the Democrats. And if my memory serves me correctly, it did not come up for a vote in the Senate. The Republicans blocked it, even though the Democrats were in charge. And I think it was a 50-50 split at that point, But needless to say, Tim Scott and Cory Booker, who is a Democrat, I think he's from New Jersey, they were trying to work with George Floyd's family, as well as other people, to get that legislation passed through. And I think, what's his name? He's also from South Carolina. Lindsey Graham. That's to my surprise and the surprise of others. Lindsey Graham was part of the talk too, but it was sabotage. And everything that I've heard and read, to date has been due to Tim Scott. So I want y'all to think about that. It's not that the Democrats didn't do anything. The Democrats were at the table along with some Republicans trying to get that legislation through, because there's no doubt in my mind that Joe Biden would have signed it, but it didn't go anywhere because of the Republicans. So I want y'all to think about that when it comes to that particular legislation and why it didn't go anywhere. It was because of Tim Scott and probably some of the other Republicans blocking it. I mean, it's that simple. Now, another thing is that, Joe Biden probably easily could have passed it by executive order, but even then that wouldn't have been good, because all it was going to do was just be, the subject of legal challenges. That's all it was going to do. Somebody waiting in the wings to, take the Biden administration to court because of that. Then it was going to end up in the Supreme Court, and that type of legislation. Oh yeah, it's no doubt in my mind that the 6-3 conservative edge probably would have knocked it down. So I just want everybody to think about that when they be so quick to say the Democrats ain't doing that. Trying, yes, that's one thing, but take a look at who tries the hardest and who's blocking things and, putting things in the way, so to speak. So I just wanted to make those points clear before we get into the video. Give me a second. I'm seeing some notifications on my phone. Okay. Just some random political stuff, but we all good over here. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into the video. Again, shout out to Clay Kane. and he does have a guest from MSNBC. I should know this brother's name because I watch so much MSNBC content, but I cannot think of his name off the top of my head. But they're going to talk about Byron Donalds and Tim Scott. And also, let me say this before I get to the video. Byron Donalds, he probably wouldn't have voted for the legislation to begin with in the House. And I'm pretty sure I don't think he was in Congress at the time when it came up for a vote. But even if he was, he wouldn't have voted for it, But I digress. But anyway, y'all, let me go ahead and get my screen shared. We're going to take a look at this. And again, shout out to the Clay Kane Show and fair usage for this, fair usage as well. Let's start.
Byron Donalds and Tim Scott, I mean, talk about the grift, my New York Times bestseller book. I mean, they are taking the blueprint of my book and just going all the way out. I mean, their heels must be bleeding from all the tap dancing. But I want you to hear Tim Scott attacking DA Alvin Bragg last night. Listen to this.
Check this out, y'all.
Actually erodes the confidence that Americans have in the justice system.
Let me pause right there. That is complete nonsense, complete nonsense. Anything that usually happens when you have people out there trying to discredit the justice system. And when you keep saying the things that you're saying, that's what makes people lack faith in the whole system to begin with. Then you're going to turn around and say, well, the people don't have faith in the justice system. It's because of what you're doing.
Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable.
No,
but good news is coming. DA Bragg, hear me clearly. You cannot silence the American people. You cannot stop us from voting for change. Joe Biden's injustice, Joe Biden's two-tier injustice system, weaponizing the justice system of the United States of America against a political...
That was cringe-worthy. And like I said, that's pandering. That is verbal pandering to the first degree. I mean, it really is. Almost like he's, halfway foaming at the mouth saying what he's saying, or trying to, bend over backwards in the way to make those points. And everything he said was just complete and utter nonsense.
Does he have a wedding to plan, Timothy? Look, don't you got a wedding to plan?
Look, he on that Charlie Chris plan. Look, let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something first about Tim and then about Byron Donalds. Senator Scott, it's not just he has no credibility. It's not just you talked about him, which everybody should know. Obviously, it was a New York Times bestseller, your excellent book, Griff. It's not just that, but it's like the disingenuous way in which these guys are going to pretend that this has anything to do with a two-tiered system of whatever the heck it is you're going to talk about. No, that was that whole not racist nonsense they were saying a while ago with Stephen A. Smith, bumbling around saying, yeah, black people identify with this. Black folks don't identify with this.
Exactly. We do not identify with this. We do not identify with criminal activity, no matter what they try to tell you, especially Donald damn Trump. We just do not identify with that at all. I know I don't, and I know these two guys don't either.
This isn't anything like the justice we face. We get shot in our houses playing video games by cops, and the cops walk free. Okay, so you can't compare a multi-millionaire, because he ain't a billionaire, being given all the time in the world to come up with a defense, threaten judges, get 34 counts, found guilty, and he's still walking out to go to his home, Trump Tower, which will be empty because Melania wasn't there. My point simply being this.
Word to the mother.
When you hear the Tim Scotts of the world trying to justify this, it shows that they have not just a lack of knowledge of history, but no real integrity. No real integrity. Nobody, this is not about a two-tiered system of justice, because you or I or anybody else who committed the crimes that Donald Trump has committed. And by the way, let's just be clear, right? This is the man who stole federal documents. That case has been delayed by Eileen Cannon. If you or I worked at Target and left with too many staplers when we got another job, we probably would have been taken into small claims court by now.
And let me say this too now. I don't think I've ever disclosed this on my channel, but I work in the healthcare industry. Okay, so I do work with a lot of sensitive material when it comes to patients and stuff like that. Let me say this: I know what the HIPAA law is, right? If I took one document out that building, that I was not entitled to take out of that building, not only would I be fired, but I would probably be brought up on charges as well as anything else you can imagine, taking out patient material. That should not leave that building under any circumstances. And like I said, just one piece of paper, I'm done. It's that simple.
Now, this man took documents that resulted in the deaths of dozens of U.S. secret agents. Let us be clear about the documents case. It resulted in the death of dozens of U.S. agents around the world. Look it up. The CIA was wondering what the heck was going on. He basically had the knock list from Mission Impossible.
Please look
New
it
York
up,
Times,
y'all.
Washington Post, Chicago Sun-Times all covered it. So there were consequences for what he did. People died. Trump died. People lied, the whole bit. So, look, Tim Scott's a clown. Byron Scott, I'll say this, and I try to be very, very respectful of any and all colleagues. But let me tell you
Byron Donalds. You said Byron Scott.
They're all interchangeable. They're all
right. Exactly.
I was about to call Candace Byron, so it's all pretty much the same person. But here's the thing: I saw Byron Donald on last night, and I, as a general rule, when I am sitting in the chair, I have a lot of colleagues who really try and follow this. You don't bring on people who are just notorious liars. Right? You don't platform people who are notorious liars. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the viewers. And it doesn't necessarily help in your ratings.
And also, in addition to that, if you're going to bring them on, you need to challenge them. Screw their feelings. Screw if they're going to get butthurt about it. You need to challenge them. You need to fact check them in real time. Don't just let them come on and just spew that nonsense, especially when the nonsense is false and when it's misleading. Don't let them come on your airwaves and just say anything and not offer some kind of counter or anything like that. It's that simple. I
saw him on last night just spewing nonsense about how it wasn't clear what the actual crimes are, how this is the weaponization. Joe Biden doesn't have anything to do with this. Heck, unlike Donald Trump, who literally talked all the time about how he wanted the Department of Justice to go after his enemy, Joe Biden has said little or nothing about this case.
That's true, and to try to make that case is far beyond disingenuous. And Trump, like he said, Trump was making those comments and he was making them in public. But some people was probably writing those off as jokes. And again, here we go, y'all. Joke alert. Everything is a damn joke until it hits you. Give me a break, man.
Nothing. Merrick Garland is not doing what Joe Biden wants him to do. Shit, Merrick Garland ain't even doing what I want him to do as an American citizen.
And I'll say this regarding Merrick Garland. I don't have any ill wills towards him. I guess he's doing, I guess you could say, an above average job at the Department of Justice. But I think Doug Jones probably would have been more effective in that role, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a second Joe Biden term, which I do hope we get, Doug Jones may get that position, but, I don't know. But like I said, Doug Jones probably would have been better in that role. But again, Merrick Garland, like I said, I don't have anything against him. It's just that, he's, mixed feedback for the most part. I'll say that.
So let us be very clear about the fact that this is a case that is years in the making. It has nothing to do with the Department of Justice. It very much has to do with the legal system in the state of New York and Alvin Bragg. And also, let us be very clear for the audience and anybody else that you're wondering about out there. This is the kind of case, and this is something Yodi told me on the podcast, which was super helpful. She's like, because I asked this question, I was like, how common is it for people to get in trouble for this? She's like, people get in trouble for this all the time. We look, you've already seen people in Trump's orbit go to jail for things related to this case. So it's not like what he's gotten in trouble for is so far-fetched. But any black Republican at this point who still wants to associate themselves with this man, any Indian American Republicans who basically want to be racial slurs by Ann Coulter and still go bojangling back to the party, nothing they have to say is credible at this point at all.
It's funny. I think about Senator Edward Brooke of Massachusetts. He was senator when during Richard Nixon's Watergate scandal. He was the first person to call for Richard Nixon to step down, a black Republican. So Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, y'all are just shameful. and we don't know what's going to happen with this VP pick.
Right.
I don't know what your reward for your indecency will be, but I am certain that history will show you for the Judas that you are.
Well, let me say this: all of this sort of mixture between like Mean Girls and Hunger Games that's going on in order to be Trump's VP. It's like none of these people have ever paid attention to who Donald Trump actually is, and loyalty to him doesn't earn you anything. Ask Michael Cohen. People who are loyal to Donald Trump don't get. Ask Mike Pence. Okay, like he will pick you, he will cast you aside, he will throw things in your face. Ask Mitt Romney. Everybody who kisses Donald Trump's ring. I don't know.
Ask Chris Christie.
Ask Chris Christie. I don't know who is more dangerous to stay loyal to, Donald Trump or Diddy, because either one, you end up betrayed, in jail, dead, and possibly turn into Jesus, right?
Now, he didn't need to bring Diddy into this, but I see the points that he was making. But yeah, it's like, why would you fall on your sword? And I'm going to come back to that at the end of this video. Why would you fall on your sword for the likes of Donald damn Trump when in return, he's not going to do the same for you? You know, one day he could big you up and talk about you either in public or on social media. But the moment that you say something that's against him or anything, you know, or basically something that makes common sense that doesn't, you know, doesn't fit his view, he's going to throw you under the bus the next day. And then what you going to do? Oh, yeah, that's right. You'll still support him and still kiss the ring, you know, in this case. I mean, give me a break.
It's not help. Okay. And then we have the people who have gone to jail in association with Trump. We have the people who went to Jesus, which is Omarosa. Like, that's what happens. So I don't know why any of these people have decided that they really, really want this job unless they think they're going to become president. And I have to say this because I keep telling people this. As of right now, my guess is, and the information could change, this has an impact on the election this fall. I still think Joe Biden's probably going to win the election. And the reason I think Joe Biden's probably going to win the election is because right now he is actually more popular, insane as this may be to believe, he is more popular with white voters today than he was in 2020. Crazy as it is. The people who he's doing worse with are black and brown folks. But I'll tell you this, as anybody who ever knows love has known, it's easier to tell him or her to come home than it is to go out and get him the first time. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have enough time to bring black and brown voters back.
That's right.
Because they're not competing as much with Donald Trump as they are competing with the couch. So
but Dr. Jason Johnson, I don't even believe that narrative. I'm not saying that the issue with black voters, there's none there whatsoever. But every single election cycle, we talk about the Democrats losing black voters. Yeah. They said at this point during Obama's presidency in 2012, he got a record share of the black vote. I covered it in my book. They were saying it during Reagan. Every single, and I sometimes think they say it. One, I believe, like I said, media hysteria. I believe it spreads misinformation because if you say it long enough, then you might believe that it's true. But the other thing, I think there is a long game that, God forbid, that man wins again. They want to point the fingers at us. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. That is a true statement. So, you know, in a case like that, they did that in 2016. They wanted to say that, you know, the reason why Hillary Clinton lost was because of black people. You know, I don't agree with that. You know, people just didn't show up, you know, but I'm not going to put the onus solely on us. You know, now I voted, you know, but I'm not going to just put it on just black people. That's why Trump won the first time. No. And that would be the narrative in this case. So you want to spin all this and say all this and that. And then when push comes to shove, or when the election is over and the results are not favorable, then you want to say, well, the reason why Biden didn't win was because of black people. You know, the reason why Trump won was because of black people. And we need to really get away from that line of thinking. But yeah, they made some real great points in this one, you know. And he did make some points about, you know, Obama thing back in 2012. I remember that because some of those same talking points were taking place at that time too. And, you know, Obama got a second term. Just wish the House and the Senate would have still remained in Democratic hands at that point. But, you know, that's a whole nother story. But shout out to these brothers for their video on this one. They made a lot of good points here. I don't have anything additional to add to this one other than the fact that when it comes to Tim Scott and Byron Donalds and any of these Black Republicans supporting this nonsense, let me tell you something. I'm speaking directly to you. If y'all want to fall on your elective swords for the likes of Donald Dan Trump, knowing full well who he is and he would not do the same in return to you, if you still want to publicly play yourselves like this, you know, with no shame in the world, congratulations, you continue to play yourselves. And it's sad, completely sad. So with all that being said, y'all, if you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments if you feel the content. You know, let me know what you think about this. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember, the power of the mind is valuable.